Well, the water crisis, you've got a billion people, billions of people around the world. You've got hundreds of languages. You've got uh, countless cultures. You've got different laws everywhere you go, and geography challenges, and the water quality, what contaminants are in the water changes. It's different everywhere you go. You're dealing with Bangladesh, where you've got arsenic in the water, and you're dealing with parts of India that have dangerously high levels of fluoride in the water. You've got places in Africa that have mining chemicals in the water. Everywhere you go, there's bacteria and parasites and nasty. I mean, these are the most dangerous. The bacteria and the parasites can be deadly. You've got cholera and typhoid and different biologicals. All these different types of contaminants that can be in the water are very difficult for traditional water purification methods like filters to remove. The problem with filters is they're only really effective on certain targeted contaminants. They aren't very good at doing a broad spectrum removal of different contaminants. They deteriorate, they break down. The seals crack, the seals fail. For whatever reason, filters deteriorate, which is, it's not a if they will deteriorate. Filters deteriorate. All filters fail. And filters, when a filter fails, you have direct contamination of the contaminated water over to the supposedly good water, and you don't necessarily know that contamination is going on. So filters are very limited in the overall scope of what they can remove. Plus, when you add in the fact that they fail, and that you can have direct contamination through, and people drink that contaminated water without even knowing it. Filters aren't really a solution for the third world countries. Well, distillation is at its core a fundamentally different technology. Distillation is, I guess the easiest way to explain distillation is the hydrologic cycle of the planet. You have the oceans where you have really contaminated water, and the sun provides heat, and you get evaporation, and that water changes from a liquid to a vapor. And so the water vaporizes and it condenses into clouds, and then it moves inland and it precipitates into rain. And that precipitation, that hydrologic cycle of evaporation, condensation, precipitation, that is the source of all fresh water on the planet. And distillation is the same thing. So what we're doing is we're taking contaminated water, we're adding heat to it, we get evaporation, and as soon as the water changes from a liquid to a vapor, it lets go of the contaminants that it's holding on to. So the steam, the water vapor, is very pure. And so what we do is we capture that pure steam, and we separate it, cool that back down into, and you get precipitation, just like rain. And that rain, or that precipitation, is very pure, sterile water. And that process is a built-in function of nature. So we're using that hydrologic cycle to generate high purity, sterile drinking water. And this is why it's a process that lasts for as long as the unit will last. The system will still produce the same excellent water. I believe that the survival still hasn't been done, or a water distiller hasn't been done, because it's just not in the thought process of people in first world countries. The first world countries, the water industry is completely dominated by the filter industry. Completely. You've got pitcher filters, you've got carbon filters, you've got reverse osmosis. 99+% of everything, every purification method is a filter. And that's just how people in the industry think now. I mean, it's kind of this is the box that they live in. And my family is in the distillation business. We have a very small niche company that does really high-end water purification systems, and based on distillation. So for 20 years I've been doing distillation. So I look at the water crisis around the world, and the solution is obvious to me because distillation is so effective. It's universally effective on all different types of contaminants. It produces, for the life of the system, will produce excellent water. I'm not saying that people haven't been sincere in trying to solve the problem in third world countries, but the box that they're working within is filters. That's how they look at the industry. That's how they look at the problem. How can we solve it? Let's look at a filter. Well, the problem is filters may work in a first world country, but they don't work in a second and third world country. You're dealing with much nastier water, much more dangerous contaminants. The filters need a supply chain. And so you've got to have this continual supply chain. The reason we haven't solved the problem is because we've been looking at filters only. The survival still is fundamentally different because it takes the full spectrum of contaminants. It's extremely effective on all the different types of contaminants. It's really very effective on the biological contaminants. And it's a permanent solution. The quality of what is produced does not deteriorate over time. So it's a really effective, permanent system for the water crisis. While filters may fill a certain role, they can't solve the problem. Infrastructure projects can't solve the problem. The survival still can solve the problem. The survival still can solve the problem right now. We can give a survival still to somebody in Vietnam or Bangladesh. They pull it out of the box and have it up and going within 15 minutes. And from that point on, they don't have to worry about it. They don't have to worry about water quality. They don't have to worry about whether this is in their water or this is in their water, or whether they've replaced their filters or whatever. They are saved from the water crisis. The global water crisis is solvable. We have a billion plus people around the world that don't have safe drinking water. I mean, something that we take for granted. We have over 20,000 kids a day dying from unsafe drinking water. And it is a solvable thing. We can solve it with the survival still. We can save millions, hundreds of millions of lives with the survival still. And we can make it so that families don't have to, parents don't have to see their kids dying from diarrhea. I mean, every day there's thousands of families and parents seeing their children die from diarrhea. And however bad we think we have it, whatever bad times are happening in the world, and we think that the economy's not going well or whatever, we're living in luxury compared to these people who don't have the basics of life, like water and safe drinking water. This problem is solvable, and what we need to get this going is $1 million, and that's all it takes is $1 million. We can fine-tune the design of the system, get some value engineering done on it, get it into full-scale production, and start getting these systems out there to these families in the third world countries. Pure Water Revolution is not going to distribute the products. What we're going to do is we're going to team up with charities and missionaries and churches and organizations that already have that infrastructure in place. They're already able to distribute the products. They're on the front lines. And so all we're going to do is we're going to provide the systems to those charities. So the $1 million will allow us to get the unit ready for manufacturing, fine-tune a couple of the design aspects of it, get our infrastructure in place for manufacturing, and then we will start producing the systems and get them out. And that $1 million will include thousands of units that we are going to donate to families in third world countries. What I'd like to ask people is first contribute whatever you can, $10, $100, $1,000, whatever you can contribute helps out tremendously. And the key point that I want to make is, your contribution at this point isn't just about providing one system to a family in Vietnam. Your contribution right now is about making this possible, getting this into production and making the whole thing available so that we can bring this solution to millions of people. So this launch period is really important for us because we have to get the infrastructure in place. So any contribution right now really means a lot to us. Your contribution right now is key to the whole thing, the whole success of this endeavor. What we'd like to ask people to do is if this is something that you can get passionate about and really believe in and know that we can do this, we can solve this problem, donate, contribute whatever you can. Help us spread the word. Go to our website. We've got a lot of different ways that you can help us, a lot of different ways that you can spread the word. We'd love to get celebrities helping us. We'd love to get churches involved, the media, big companies. There's all kinds of ways that you can help. So come to their website and just have a look and see what you can do to help us. I think about the families. I've done quite a bit of traveling. I've had actually some people, some friends who have traveled with me to other countries who have died from drinking contaminated water that they thought was good. I've seen families. I've visited very poor families in some Asian countries and South American countries, and they're good people, and they really love their families, and they want to help their families. They want to do better in the world, but it's hard when you're dealing with the basics of survival. So when somebody gets one of these systems and pulls it out of the box and they start using it, and they have pure water, pure, safe, sterile water, that they are in control of their water supply. They're not dependent upon a supply chain or anyone else. They are in control of their water supply. I mean, that's powerful. I mean, these people have control of a whole aspect of their life that they've never had control of before. They're going to be able to provide their whole family, their children, with pure drinking water, pure, safe, sterile drinking water. And it's a huge thing. It is a life changer, and it's a life changer for that family. And then you multiply that family, and it's a life changer. It's a world changer. This is a world-changing thing that we can do to help families. I have a friend who travels to Vietnam quite a bit, and he has this small village of people that he works with, and they do crafts of making purses, really nice purses and stuff. But he's kind of adopted them. There's one lady there that has a daughter. She's about 12 years old, and she has these sores all over her body, and it's from parasites in the water, and it's really from particularly nasty type of parasite. And so he has kind of adopted that family and sent that girl to one of the really good hospitals over there for treatment. And it's really been hard. I mean, it's a really tough parasite to get rid of, and it's totally through her body, and getting it out is gone. She's gone through some really serious treatments, but he's getting her to a point where she's healthy again, and the family is overjoyed. I mean, this is a family who is got a loved one back, who was on the brink of she was gonna die. But this shouldn't have happened. Or if she would have had a survival still, and the family would have had a survival still, and they would have had pure, sterile drinking water to consume, they would have never had that parasite that they got from the water supply. So she would have never gone through this whole ordeal that she went through. And a lot of people go through that and they just die. 20,000 plus children die every day from this type of thing. So we would love to work with the churches. Churches are on the front lines. They have the missionaries who are out there dedicating their lives to helping people overcome, and they know the families, they know the challenges, they know all of that. So really, I guess what we're looking for from churches is two things: to help us get the contributions, maybe do a group effort, get the word out there to other churches who can also help us with this, but also on the distribution side. Because Pure Water Revolution is not going to be involved in distribution. What we're going to do is we're going to team up with churches and charities and organizations who are already out there on the front lines. And so we want to team up with churches and the missionary efforts to get these systems out there to the people who need them. So churches are really key to what we're doing. So what we'd really like to do is if a celebrity could donate an experience that appeals to their fan base, and then we could raffle it off, or we could we could auction it off, or we could provide it to people who donate a lot of money to us. For example, Ashton Kutcher. How do you say his name? So, for example, if Ashton Kutcher could donate like a lunch with himself, and then we raffle off raffle tickets for $2 each. That would be awesome. And then you get maybe like Jamie Oliver, who cooks dinner for 10 people, and then we could maybe auction off those places at the table, or we could have a certain dollar amount that if somebody contributes, they get a seat at the table there. And then if we could do that with all these different celebrities and just have an experience, we could knock this thing out in a week. That would be key. If we could get celebrities donating these experiences, we get people will participate. They will share. We'll get media coverage. We'll get people. It will put us over the top as far as people knowing about this and donations. It'll put us over within a week. People give to great causes. I mean, we are an incredibly generous society, and this survival still is something that is going to be revolutionary, world-changing. It doesn't take a lot to get this going, and the benefits from this, permanently saving families from the water crisis and disease, is huge. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, all the other billionaires out there. LeBron. This is LeBron. This is something that is doable. Throw $1 million our way. Who's the guy that's the owner of? He's the billionaire. He's kind of a cocky guy.
Oh, I know.
Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, the billionaires of the world, throw $1 million our way and make a huge change in the world. This is gonna really save people's lives. If we could get Justin Bieber to do a raffle to spend time with him, and we sell a raffle ticket for $5, and he uses his huge fan base to get a raffle going for us, and the winner will get a chance to meet Justin Bieber and maybe go out to dinner with him or have some fun, and that would take us over. That would take us over the top within weeks. It's all to change to save these people's lives. It's an awesome cause. It's a very simple thing. It's a very doable thing. We can get this going right now. So Mark Cuban, what better way to celebrate a victory than to donate $1 million to a wonderful cause?
Absolutely.
Matt Damon is very intimately involved in the water. Maybe he could donate an experience. Maybe you go golfing with Matt Damon, or have a party with Matt Damon or something.
Matt Damon golf?
Justin Timberlake.
Matt Damon,
So Justin Timberlake could definitely.
What if Matt Damon let you win at golf?
Okay, so yeah, so Matt Damon provides an experience of letting somebody beat him at golf.
Right, exactly. Or
yes, we got to do something with Will Ferrell, because Will Ferrell recently did a thing where he's doing a brand of suntan lotion where he gets naked on the cover to promote skin cancer or skin cancer awareness.
To get naked for this.
So Will Ferrell can do something crazy for this, and he doesn't even have to get naked. Or if he wants to get naked, that's fine too.
Yeah.
weird, but fun, I guess.
Weird but fun. Bear Grylls could take somebody out to the middle of the Sahara and do some kind of weird survival thing. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just it. I mean, you talk about all, what could some people do, and what are people capable of, and how can we do it?
Going to lunch with Bill Clinton.
That would be cool.
That would be awesome, wouldn't
That
it?
would be awesome. That would be awesome.
A private concert with Bruce Springsteen. So, celebrities can come up with, use your PR people, have something fun, come up with something fun, make it a big event, and have fun with it. Let's get the word out there and get people participating in this. And in more than just a cause, this is something that we're coming together for. Well, the water crisis is, we've got billions of people around the world. We've got hundreds of different languages, cultures, countries, the geological differences everywhere. Some people are by the ocean, some people are not by the ocean. But what makes it even more complicated is the water. Water contamination is kind of the recipe of contaminants that's in the water is different everywhere you go. And this is one of the things with filters is they're designed for a lot of times they're designed for specific things. They don't handle a broad spectrum. The survival still handles the full spectrum of contaminants, from inorganic toxic metals, arsenic, lead, even salt water, radioactive contaminants, organic like petroleum-based solvents and pesticides and that type of thing. And the most serious one is biological. There's nothing that is more effective on biological or any of these contaminants than distillation and the survival still. It hasn't been done before because in first world countries, developed countries, Europe, America, where we have a box that we think in, and that box is filters. The whole water industry is absolutely dominated by the filter industry. That is it. And so when people come up with solutions, and there's been a lot of very good-hearted people trying to come up with real solutions, but the box they work within is filters. And filters what works in first world countries doesn't work in third world countries, because you've got much harsher, much more contaminated water. The contaminants are deadly. A filter that, if you put a filter on your sink in America and the filter goes bad, well, okay, your water might not taste as good as it did the day before. But you put a filter on water with cholera in it in a third world country, and when that filter fails and water goes directly through and somebody's drinking it without knowing that it's failed, one time is all it's needed to cause serious injury or death to that person. So what works in first world countries doesn't work in third world countries. And that's the box that people have worked within, is the filters industry. The water crisis is one of the most serious problems on this planet. We've got billion plus people who don't have access to safe drinking water. You have 20,000 children dying every day from parasites and diarrhea, and you've got people and families dying from arsenic poisoning, really dangerous levels of fluoride in other areas. You've got mining chemicals in other areas that are in the water, and these people love their families. They want to protect their families, but they're dealing with basic survival. Water is something that we take for granted, but these people have to deal with just the basics. And how can they lift themselves out of poverty? How can they educate themselves? How can they make their life better if they're dealing with parasites and cholera and their children dying and just these basic problems? I think of these families and these parents who have these. The biggest risk factor is children and babies. And you have your baby and you love your baby, and yet you see this baby dying from diarrhea. And over 20,000 children every day die from diarrhea. And it's horrible. You gotta just the survival still has been in design for about 10 years. And really what we've done, I've been in this industry for over 20, and we've sent distillers all over the world to over 100 countries. We know what the issues are and how to really fine-tune a distiller and make it. There's a lot of little nuanced things about distillers that are very important. You have these people on YouTube that say, okay, this is how you make your own homemade distiller. They don't know. A lot of those distillers are really, they don't know what they need to know. There's a lot of little nuanced things that are very important for a distiller. And especially if you're putting a distiller out in a third world country where it's going to be a permanent solution, and people aren't going to be able to call you up and say, hey, such and such is going wrong. So they have to have a really durable system, something that's simple to use, something that will last 10, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, if they take care of it. And it's got to deal with all different types of water, whether they're dealing with arsenic in Bangladesh or salt water. from the ocean or dealing with mining chemicals. It's got to deal with, we got to be able to have a system that we can plop anywhere, we can put it anywhere,